Resources and Development, which is the first chapter of class 10th Geography, NCERT. According to NCERT, what is a resource? Resource is everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs. Which means that whatever is around us, which is of our use, human beings use natural resources which are present all around them for their satisfaction of requirements and needs. So anything and everything which can be utilized to satisfy the needs of human beings is called as a resource. It should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, which means that we can acquire those resources. If the resources are not acquired, in case we are not able to acquire or obtain it, then it is not a resource. It should be economically feasible. It means that it should give something in return, or it should be profitable. So the raw materials should be used to manufacture some finished product which can give you satisfaction. And should be culturally acceptable means that it should be accepted by the people and should not hurt the sentiments of the people who are using that resource. The process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interactive relationship between nature, technology, and institution, which means that the resources which are lying in the nature should be used with the help of technology. They are converted into something more useful. So the raw materials are converted into something which is more productive with the help of technology. And without the help of human beings, it is not possible because the technology is used by the humans themselves. In order to create something, human beings use technology as well as institutions. So human beings require institutions, which means factories or manufacturing processes, as well as technology to convert natural raw materials into something which is more useful, which is a resource. All these three factors are in a triangle. If one is absent, then the resources are of no use. Resources are not free gifts of nature, though they are present all around us, but until and unless human beings use them, it is not called as a resource. Human beings themselves are called as a resource because human beings, through their intellect as well as technological know-how, can convert the raw materials into resources. As human beings are the most intelligent animals in this world, they have got intellect as well as skill, talent, and technological know-how. Resources can be classified into different sections. On the basis of their origin or how they are formed, they can be divided into biotic and abiotic. All the living organisms are a part of the ecosystem and they form the biotic resource. Biotic resources include plants, animals, as well as bacteria, fungi, and anything which is living. Whereas abiotic resources are all the chemical and physical materials which are present in the environment which are non-living, like air, water, soil, rocks, metals, etc. On the basis of exhaustibility, the resources can be divided into renewable as well as non-renewable resources. Exhaustibility is the way we use them or how the resources are exhausted or used. So renewable resources are the resources which can be renewed in the nature or we can use them repeatedly. They can be reproduced in the nature through various chemical or mechanical or technological processes. So anything which can be renewed back or recycled is called as renewable resources. Like solar energy, geothermal energy, wind energy, solar energy, water energy. Either they are replaced back in the environment naturally or human beings through their technology can recycle those resources back. If we do not sustainably use these resources or overuse or exploit these resources to a massive level, then renewable resources can also convert into non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources, on the other hand, are finite in number. That means the amount is limited and they cannot be replenished back comparably in the same way as renewable resources. They take a very long duration of time to be replenished back in the nature. So they are exhausted in the environment if they are not sustainably used and take very long time to be replenished back naturally, possibly are depleted from the environment. Some of them are recyclable, like metals, but some cannot be recycled, like fossil fuels like petroleum, natural gas, as well as coal. On the basis of ownership means whosoever owns that resource, we can divide them into individual resources, community owned resources, national resources, as well as international resources. Individual resources are privately owned resources by individuals. For example, land by farmers. Even human beings, they do own their own land, houses, their vehicles. Next is community owned resources. These are the resources which are accessible or available to all the people who are present in that community. It can be a village, it can be a town or a city. All the resources which everyone can use is called as community owned resources. For example, marriage halls, parks, village ponds, burial grounds, picnic spots, community halls, etc. The next category is national resources. So all the assets of a country which lies within the boundaries or the jurisdiction of a country which the other countries cannot easily acquire. You can either import or export, but you cannot acquire the resources which are present and are available within the boundaries of a country. We cannot easily go to another country and acquire the resources from there. Have to pay taxes, or we can import or export legally, like water resources or minerals, land resources. In order to use the resources which are available in that nation or that country, we either can be a citizen of that country or we should have permission to use those resources by some authority. International resources are those resources which are not confined within the boundaries of a country. They can be used by multiple countries. Some resources are used by various countries so that they can be sustainably utilized. For example, lakes and rivers which are shared between different countries, like River Nile, River Danube, and also fish stocks which go beyond an ocean limit in the open oceans, beyond the exclusive economic zones. What is an EEZ or exclusive economic zone? Basically, it is a sea zone which is prescribed by the United Nations Convention on Law of Sea. It sets a limit which extends 200 nautical miles from the coastlines. Beyond this point, international coastal states get the authority to explore and to use various kinds of marine resources, as well as to produce energy from the water of the oceans, as well as utilize all the resources which are present in the oceans. If you divide or classify these resources on the basis of their development or how much they have been utilized, we can divide them into sections like potential resources, developed resources, stock, as well as reserves. First one is potential resources. These are the resources which are already present in a region or they are available, but they are not properly utilized. So the technology may not be there, or the country or that particular state may not be that technically advanced to use those resources. So there is potentiality, but it is not properly utilized. That is called as potential resource. For example, there is a student who has a lot of potentiality, a lot of talents, and he or she is very intelligent, but they are not getting proper exposure or competitions, or maybe they do not have those resources to explore themselves. So those resources are still not being utilized. That becomes potential resource. One of the examples which I can give is of uranium deposits, which is in Ladakh. Developed resources are those resources which have been properly surveyed, they have been explored, they have been identified where they are produced, where they are found, and also explored. And they are already being used in the present times. So they are properly utilized in the present times. They have the right technology and the right approach and the right accessibility. For example, forests, wood, timber, or coal, petroleum, all these are developed resources. Stock resources is another type of resources, which is basically the resources which are abundantly present in a particular area, which are readily available, but we do not have the appropriate technology to access and to utilize those resources. Maybe the country is not developed and does not have that technology to use the resources. Those resources may be present, but the technology is not available. For example, water is composed of hydrogen as well as oxygen, but we do not have the appropriate technology to extract hydrogen and oxygen in a commercial way so that we can use both the gases separately. Because of the lack of technological know how and these stocks are not properly utilized, these resources are kept as a reserve for the future. It's like how we preserve our things for the future. Similarly, we have reserves. These are the resources which we have kept and reserved for the future. If in the future there is more technological advancements, then these reserves can be utilized. Development of resources. Without the utility of resources, our survival is very, very difficult. As a human being, as an intellectual human being, we need to use the resources for our own survival and for making our lives better. But human beings are excessively using these resources, they're overusing the resources, leading to various problems. We are overusing the resources, leading to the depletion of resources, especially non renewable resources, which we are overutilizing and not replacing them in the environment. Sometimes the rich and the wealthy people, they acquire lots of resources which they do not use it in the proper manner. So the entire society is divided into haves and have-nots. The poor do not have the access to the resources because they do not have money or wealth, whereas the rich has excessive money so that they use excessive amounts of resources. Example, a wealthy person may have many cars which he may not be using every day, or maybe too many clothes and shoes which they are not using and also causing a lot of ecological problems. So, because of such a careless and haphazard and overexploitation of resources by human beings, it has led to various kinds of global and ecological problems such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, land degradation, erosion, etc. So, the way how we can restore all these resources in the environment, one of the best ways is sustainable development. Sustainable development means the way in which we can develop as well as use the resources in a balanced way. It is progressive in nature. It basically focuses on the ecological growth as well as social development. This is how we can restore the resources that we are using, not only meeting the needs of the present but also of the future generations. So, to discuss this grave issue on environmental degradation, there was a United Nations conference on environment and development which was held in Rio de Janeiro, which is in Brazil. It is also called as an Earth Summit, which was a major conference held between 3rd and 14th of June 1992. There was another conference of United Nations which was held in 1972 on human environment, which was held in Stockholm in Sweden between June 5th to June 16th, 1972. Main aim or the main motto was that the member states are supposed to cooperate on various environmental issues and are supposed to develop the environment together. As an outcome of the Earth Summit, which was held in 1992, there was a plan which was called as Agenda 21, which was a comprehensive plan of action amongst all the member states of the UN, decided on how to develop sustainably and how to preserve the resources for the future generations.